1. Good evening, UKSG, and we have another exciting run for you. We have Castlevania Legends, any percent standard mode, with TempestMask1000. So, again, without any memes or further ado, over to you.
Hello, everyone. I bid you good evening, or in this case, good afternoon, because I'm all the way on a different side of the world. But regardless, I bid you welcome to Castlevania Legends. My name is Tempest, as introduced, and this here is Castlevania Legends, the final of 3 Castlevania games released for the Game Boy, the original model. And it's a very interesting title, to say the least, because for those who are aware of Castlevania history, you may recall that the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night might have already happened, and this then came out. And that might factor into a certain somebody that we might be seeing later on, but that's all I'll be saying for now. Otherwise, the category I'm going to be doing today is the only one that you'll find currently on the leaderboard, any percent standard mode. I have, however, done a run for the other feature, light mode, which is slightly different. Let me show you what exactly we got here. But yeah, so standard mode is essentially the normal gameplay of the game, and all that means is for those who usually are aware of Classicvania functions and mechanics, you may recall that I can upgrade the whip. And that's pretty much there in standard mode, but in light mode, the whip is always going to be upgraded even if I die. But we're not using light mode, so if I do die, then I'm just going to have to power it up again. So no problem with that, but let's get started. If anybody in the chat has any questions for me about this game, I do have the window open, and I'd be happy to answer. And I would also be glad to have any questions from the host as well, but shall we get started?
Yep, that's not a problem.
Alright, well, time will...
count you down, or...?
Yeah, you can count me down. Time will begin when I've selected standard mode, so whenever you're ready.
Okay. No worries. 3, 2, 1, go.
Alright, and so I'm going to start off by skipping a couple of cutscenes. Like most Castlevania games, you have a little walking and showing of the castle itself. So luckily I can press start to get past that as fast as I can. Otherwise, the intro text basically introduces the basic premise of this game. And yeah, welcome to level 1, where we have ourselves 1 out of 5 levels. Now, in total for Castlevania Legends, there are actually 6. The 6th level is a bit of a hidden secret that we'll find in level 5, but we're not going to be accessing that today, not at all. The reason for that is because it's not necessary in an any percent scenario. Instead, that would be a bit more necessary if we were trying to get 100%, which therefore unlocks the true ending of the game. As mentioned, though, by Fury Fire in the chat, this game is non-canon, while the other 2 Game Boy games are. For those who don't know, the Game Boy games started off with Castlevania The Adventure, which most people consider objectively the worst, whereas the sequel game, Castlevania II Belmont's Revenge, is considered a huge hit. And this game is sort of a in-between, if you will. You may have seen when I restarted the game that a certain company by the name of KC Nagoya had a bit of a hand in developing this game, and that would be Konami's Nagoya branch. Now, you may recognize them if you're familiar with Castlevania, not Legends, Symphony of the Night's Sega Saturn port. They helped work on that. But in terms of developing a Castlevania, this was basically their first go, and understandably, some people thought it wasn't necessarily the best. It's not a bad game by many stretches of the imagination, and it definitely plays out like a Classicvania would, but all things considered, Koji Igarashi did consider this to be a bit of an embarrassment, and also had a bit of an issue with something insinuated by the true ending that he felt it was more than necessary to consider this game non-canon for that very reason. A bit of a shame considering that Sonia Belmont, our protagonist here, is the only known playable female protagonist within the entire franchise. But with that said, we'll see what exactly this adventure has to hold. But anyway, the first question I've received is from Apocalypse O in the chat, and yes, I was actually about to get into that. So, I was walking fast because what happened was I activated Sonia's unique mechanic known as Burning Mode, and I only have one shot at that per level or per life, so if I die, I get it back. But Burning Mode essentially makes her invincible and much faster in terms of walking speed. And for that particular hall is when I wanted to use it. That's what the preferred routing usually holds in store and stuff. Otherwise, I basically have a general gist as to when to use the Burning Mode in the other levels. And yes, I would like to point out that other characters like Charlotte and Shanoa are playable females in the Castlevania franchise, but in comparison to Sonia, they weren't necessarily having Belmont in the name. And in fact, I can confirm that technically the first playable female character in the franchise would be Sypha I can't speak right now, Sypha Belnades. But yeah, there's a bit of a interesting history, if you will, considering that this game was supposed to be the intended origin or big, huge starting point for the Belmont clan's history. Sonia was supposed to be that before Koji Igarashi decided to change things and made Lament of Innocence, which introduced Leon Belmont. But yes, anyway, there's not really that much in terms of particular speed mechanics or anything of the like outside of the typical affair. I do want to try and avoid dying as best I can, though, because something to note about the hearts is that when it comes to Legends, I actually want to collect as much as I can, as when I beat a level, there is no score countdown, so therefore I'm not going to lose time if I have more hearts. And as some of you may know, hearts are ammunition for our sub-weapons. But wait, I have no sub-weapons yet. That's because sub-weapons are actually non-existent in this game, and are instead collectibles that are necessary for the 100% requirement. So instead, I'm going to be collecting soul weapons for every boss I beat up until stage 4. And here is the first boss, the Creature's Bat. Some runners like to refer to this guy as Batman. I guess Man-Bat would be a more accurate and fitting name to this fella, but I'm just going to try and whip him as best I can. A little something to note is that when I have a level 3 whip, I can shoot projectiles. They do a bit weaker damage, but they are helpful for trying to get across, and there he goes. And now I will collect our first soul weapon, like so, and that is the Wind Element. And now we move on to level 2, which has probably one of my favorite songs in the game, in terms of the original soundtrack. And right there I just activated the Wind Element. So basically it's basically the stopwatch, which is kind of funny considering we don't have a stopwatch, and yet this is exactly that. So there you go. And yeah, I'm just gonna walk down a few halls before we start getting to some points in the stage where I need to defeat these giant knights in order to progress, because there are some spikes that are tied to the existence of those enemies. So I think now's a good time to pass it on over to the host if you got anything to say at the moment.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, all that was going through my head was da-na-na-na-na-na-na man-bat.
Nice.
But we do have a $5 donation from Prometheus. I can't really afford much at the moment, but every little counts, right? Let ourselves have a wonderful weekend. Lots of Prometheus. So thank you very much for that. And what else you can do to support the charity if you can't afford to donate is if you have a Prime Gaming sub, you can drop it on the ESA channel, and that helps them support this channel and that we use, and you're watching it on. So
Indeed. And, I'm pretty sure that Prime subs are usually free. So there you go.
Yeah, so you're not spending any money, so...
I absolutely am all for free. And speaking of free, we got ourselves a free crumbling bridge right now. But yeah, all things considered, yeah, level 2 is considered, in my opinion, one of the more interesting levels where they sort of try to do a thing. It's not necessarily something you're going to... That particular thing being kill the knights, the haunted knights to remove the spike obstacles. But, you know, it's not like you're going to see that throughout the level, so, you know. I'm going to be a little bit careful here because I was doing some practice running earlier. And, yeah, okay, whew, thank goodness. So, I wanted to be careful with the climbing mechanics because, well, you might have noticed that most Classicvanias don't have climbing like that. And, yeah, basically climbing on ropes acts as a sort of alternative to staircases in this game. Not sure why necessarily, but hey, it works. But one problem is that I do want to be holding onto the rope at all costs, because if I do fall through the transition point, that counts as a death. There are some exceptions to the game as far as I know, but I just want to be very careful as possible, because even though I just took a very close call, a little dangerous gamble right there, that still doesn't mean I can just do things willy-nilly, you know? I want to be fast, but I also want to be careful, because Castlevania Legends is a bit forgiving when it comes to stuff like game overs. Like, literally, very, very forgiving. But, I don't want to necessarily lose my hearts, because the soul weapons, they come in a bit of handy when it comes to maneuvering some, trickier stuff, let's just put it that way. Ooh, oh man, I almost missed that jump right there, and that would've looked so bad. Yeah, the thing about playing a Classicvania game like this one is that, one small misstep can indeed be costly, and this game is no different. But if I were to get a game over, the good news is that if I continue, I just start from the last checkpoint that I hit. So, there you go. Alright, and we are now coming up to the next boss, which is the Dragon Zombie. But, oh my. Oh, that was a fake power-up orb. Sneaky, sneaky, but let's see what we can do here. So this fella likes to shoot fireballs. It chooses whether to fire from the top, middle, or bottom. I want to be especially careful if it's firing from the bottom because there's not really much I can do about that. So the idea is to just be wary of how much damage I'm taking. Oh, that's... and there we go. I was a little bit nervous there, but there we go. And we have now collected our next soul weapon, which is water. But I actually want to switch back to wind because that new soul weapon is very handy, but also the most expensive, and therefore one of the reasons why I'm trying to stockpile on as much hearts as I can. So water, or ice as it's known in the Japanese game, or is it the other way around? I honestly can't remember. In any case, it basically recovers your health fully, which is very, very helpful, but it costs 20 hearts to do at least once. And the worst part is that if I were to activate it, even at full health, it still takes away those hearts. So, yeah, I kind of don't want to do that. Believe me, I've made that mistake quite a few times before, and it's never fun. At this point, though, I am going to be saving Burning Mode until we get to the boss of this level, which is your obligatory clock tower level, if you haven't already noticed. And we are going to see some clock ears that we're going to use as platforms, although they're a little bit smaller than usual. There we go, that's that room. So, we got these, I guess, lizard men-like enemies that are very annoying, because what they like to do is shoot fireballs my way, and also occupy the ropes. So, yeah. The first time I ran this game, they were the worst part and stuff, but I decided to take some soul weapon health refills for the sake of safety. Here we have our first of a few mini-bosses. Unfortunately, I cannot remember this name. I think it's a gargoyle, but that's just a huge guess. I promise I am going to study up on my homework soon enough, though. But I just need to not use burning mode. But I guess that's not gonna happen now. Oh well. Yeah, you know what? So be it. Improvise. At least that made that climb a little bit easier, I suppose, and it did let me wail on the boss for that final part, but unfortunately that means that I won't have that sort of advantage against the actual level boss coming up. So, yeah, unfortunately, one thing that is a bit of a disadvantage with playing this game, at least on my Xbox One controller here, is that I have a tendency to sometimes press A and B when I don't want to. But it is what it is. I'll just roll with those punches because what else can you do? But yeah, I'm going to traverse some more through the clock tower level. Yeah. Just a reminder that if anybody has any questions about this game, I do have the chat window open and I will be able to answer as best I can. Otherwise, what about you, my good sir host?
Yes, I take it you're playing this on an emulator by the fact you're using an Xbox controller.
Yeah, this game is definitely not easy to find. Unfortunately, it's one of the games that did not get ported to the Anniversary Collection, while the other two did. I think I can understand that, though, because, again, Legends is considered non-canon, whereas those two are, especially considering that that was the story of Christopher Belmont, which is Simon Belmont's more recent family member, and that it's one of the things that if you've seen the prologue of the original Castlevania games, you'll notice that Christopher Belmont's name is mentioned, so, you know. But other than that, I consider emulation to be the more accessible way of playing this game, and I have no problems doing that whatsoever. Of course, if I do ever decide to get an actual cartridge for Castlevania Legends, then, hey, I guess that'll be pretty cool. But for now, there you go.
Chat is saying it is way too expensive to get a actual cartridge version.
Well, yeah, considering that most retro games that people are trying to resell, that's par for the course, I suppose. I have been taking a look at quite a bit of retro stuff that people are willing to give away online, but you know, just it's not always the easiest to do, and you also gotta...
The odds of finding it.
Yeah, that too. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that there's gotta be at least one Castlevania Legends cartridge on eBay right now, but yeah, considering that I got my eyes on another prize at the moment, I'm looking at you, Limited Run Games. But anyway, let's see here. So yeah, oh, we're at the boss. To answer Apocalypse O's question, yeah, nothing is going to knock me off of the ropes. Basically, I can take as much damage as I want on them, and I won't get knocked back whatsoever, which is wonderful. But anyway, here's Death. The game's manual, I believe, refers to him as the Grim Reaper, though, so that's who I have him as for my splits. I mean, Death is the Grim Reaper, so, you know, a little bit on the nose right there, wouldn't you think? But hey, that was a perfect fight. We didn't need burning mode after all, and there you go. We are well on our way to level 4. Now this is where things get a little interesting. Oop. But first things first, shoutouts to Super Mario World, because if you've heard or played Grand Poo World 2, this song might sound a bit familiar to you. This is a song that originated from this game, and I do believe it takes place in Grand Poo World 2 when you're fighting one of the Reznor bosses, or rather, the Reznor boss, as I think there's only one. Oop, that's not good. Alright, there we go. So, I was considering trying to save burning mode for later on, but that is one way to do it. There is no problem with using it in that section whatsoever. And in fact, if I want to, I suppose, maybe at some point soon I could take an intentional death, but instead, we're just going to play it out because I still got a decent amount of hearts, and I should probably switch the soul weapon again because we did acquire the fire soul weapon from Grim Reaper Death. So what that does is I get to do damage, at least 1 point of it, to all enemies on the screen, which is nice in theory, but it's not necessarily all that strong. It can help clear out some annoying mooks if you really need it, but and it does come at the... I think it comes at 5 hearts like the wind element, but yeah, not that helpful. Ooh. Alright, well, no worries there, because we're going to go to our next mini-boss and say hello to Medusa. So you might have noticed that some of the enemies of Castlevania Legends aren't necessarily ones that you would normally see in Castlevania games. You might recognize, say, the zombies and the fleamen, and Medusa here, but there are some enemies that did sort of appear to Legends that never quite showed up later on, I suppose. Like those leeches in level 1. But we defeated Medusa. She didn't necessarily die, she just turned into a head and flew off. So I guess we should just wave goodbye to her. And I guess what the game is trying to insinuate is that's why Medusa heads exist. But that's for you guys to figure out. Although I will give credit to Aishma for thinking that one through when he saw me doing this at SAS, or supporting Autism Speedrun event. But yeah, I'm actually going to go down there.
Noticed, you've got separate heart bar and life bar. Isn't that slightly confusing? If you just glance in.
Honestly, no. I know what my life bar is like, and the burning mode bar is just there, but like, I will admit it is a bit of an inconvenience because, as you may recall, most Classicvania games usually have it where you get to see your character's health and the bosses, so, you know. It might not be there, but for me, I think I've just gotten used to it, really, and just know when bosses are defeated, simply because the game just pauses for a split second, and, you know, that's just the way it goes, I guess. But anyway, we are currently continuing to climb up some more of the castle, and it's this point that we're going to see a bit of a familiar face very soon enough. But first things first, I'm going to heal myself one more time. I just want to keep as healthy as possible. So far, it's been pretty nice that we haven't died once, so I'll definitely take that, because I don't think any of my runs have ever had that before. This game, like I said, this game being a Classicvania can be a bit tricky sometimes, and one mistake can be your undoing. But, when you know what you're doing, it can go pretty seamlessly. So, you know. All things considered, I'm pretty sure that there is a good chance I will get a PB today. Because so far, my times within the last few levels have been really good. And I think that it has to do with the fact that I haven't died once yet, so we'll see what happens. But if I do, I promise that I'm going to give myself a bit of a trim, because I've been long overdue for that. You know, shave some time, shave myself, kind of that sort of thing.
We've just gone over the 20-minute mark, just so you know where you're at.
I do indeed have my live split window open, so, but I very much appreciate that. So let's see if we can just get a couple more hearts, because then that will mean I have room for at least one more heal, and that we are making our way to the boss right now. So, come on, there we go. And I will go ahead, strike that candle, and there we have 20 hearts, so we can heal ourselves at least once. I don't exactly know what those worm-like enemies from the ground are, but I guess they look like meaty worms. I don't get it, but, you know, it's there. And so is Alucard. Hello, Alucard. Alright, so let's see if I can try and do this pretty decently without dying. So Alucard has a few familiar abilities, such as using a sword, turning into a bat, and going to the other side of the room, and throwing some fireballs. That's basically as far as it goes, but it looks like we're pretty good here, and there we go. Ow! I'd love to show the dialogue here, but that's for another time, I suppose. We've just acquired our last soul weapon, though. Like I said, there would be one more, but that's only for 100%, and we are doing any percent today. So with that said, we've acquired the, I think it's the Sonic element? Honestly, I can't remember. Maybe it's light, but I do know this. It creates a shockwave-like projectile that costs 1 heart per use, and that is pretty fantastic, because that means we now have an extra mode of attacking So I think it's pretty much going to do the same amount of damage as, say, the fireball, which is like not as much as the whip with the physical contact, but it's definitely helpful and should come in handy for our final boss fight because, again, we do have 5 levels and this is level 5. So as I come across the first section of Dracula's underground chasm, have we anything? Oh, I guess I'll die.
You jinxed yourself before by saying it was deathless.
I have a tendency to do that. Well, the good news is that it doesn't put us that far back. I guess I wasn't really counting the spikes there. The cavern stalagmites and stalactites do quite a bit of damage. Unfortunate, but we will proceed as planned because we are definitely keeping really good pace for sure. And just like that, we're back to the full whip. So, as I mentioned, standard mode really just gives you a return back to the level 1 whip whenever you do die, whereas light mode, you're always going to have that upgraded whip, so you know. Not really much of a big difference there, and I can understand why this any percent standard mode has been like the only category to pretty much exist. But I think it's perfectly within the cards to include some availability for anyone interested in doing light mode, because it is a bit more forgiving, and I always appreciate when a game like this has to offer something like that. Oh boy. That's not good, though. Let's see if I can... Alright. I think, I've got a couple more rooms before we reach the last mini-boss, which will be the Minotaur. I'm going to switch to water and heal. Thank you for not coming my way, Mr. Bat. Let's just start grabbing some hearts. And, yeah, if you got anything you'd like to say at the moment, feel free to do so right now.
Yeah, so just a reminder for everybody, we're raising money to support Crisis, a charity supporting people out of homelessness for good. They achieve this through education, training, and support with housing, employment, and health. 100% of your donations will be supporting Crisis. So any donation that you can make will go to a very good cause.
Absolutely. And it's always nice to be able to help out an organization like Crisis, for sure. I'm honestly glad to be back here at a UKSG, for sure. Anyway, here we have the Minotaur. I'm just going to try and avoid him. The good news is that his pattern is... Ooh, that's... Okay, I'm just gonna stay safe right here. Hopefully I won't take any more damage. But yeah, as you can see right here, his spiel is just to jump from platform to platform, and there we go. Whew! 1 point of health. That's, that can be a bit freaky. But now is the question, do I just... Yeah, okay, I'll just take the death. The game decided for me. The good news is that that was the checkpoint right there. But the thing is, there is at least one more checkpoint along the way, and the unfortunate part is that it's not close to where Dracula's chamber is. It's still a bit of a ways to go. It's not super far, but yeah, I do want to try and be very much prepared for the Dracula fight, because if something were to go wrong, that'd be quite a bit of a time waste. Granted that we are still quite underestimate as far as I can see, and I am more than happy with that, if anything, so... But I definitely do not want to make that mistake. But with that said, let's keep going. Because we got a vampire to slay. And it's probably a good time that I should explain what exactly was happening in the story. So, Sonia Belmont is the current wielder of the Vampire Killer Whip. And apparently she had it handed down to her from her grandfather, who supposedly died before the events of the game. And so Sonia Belmont is taking it upon her hands to enter Castlevania and put an end to the Lord of Darkness's bid to basically put his wrath on mankind. However, something interesting about the game is that it's insinuated that his wife, Lisa Tepesh, who is the mother of Alucard, supposedly died recently. And if you are unaware, that's kind of what happens in what leads up to the events of Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse. So, it makes you wonder what exactly is going on here. At least it certainly does for me, because it's not like we never necessarily knew who came directly after Sonya. And the interesting thing is, had this game remained canon, and had another game come out at some point during the Dreamcast era, it wouldn't have been Sonya's last time as a playable character, as there was a game called Castlevania Resurrection in the works, and so Sonya either would have time-traveled or come back from the dead, and would have fought alongside the current Belmont of that time period, Vincent, I believe his name was, and yeah, they would basically take on Dracula's wife, which I think is a lady vampire in what was shown in the intro cutscene trailer teaser or whatever. I honestly think that would have been a little confusing, but I suppose Dracula is allowed to fall in love again. I mean, vampires are people after all, so you know how it is. Anyway, I would normally want to use Burning Mode here, but instead I'm actually going to be saving it up for the big fight, because I just feel like that's a bit more of a proper thing to do. As I mentioned before, if I were to die at any point here, that would set me back quite a bit. Ooh. There we go. Luckily, however, I do have one more health I can pick up. Let me just see if I can... Alright, there we go. There we go. You might have noticed that the wall meat is actually candle meat in this game. A little funny change of plans, but you know, it's still there. And I'd say it's a bit more convenient because at least I know where it exists, like how most people would memorize where the hidden wall meat is. Then again, this game does share a couple of similarities with Super Castlevania 4 in that Sonya Belmont can crawl like Simon can, and also you can find health recovery in the candles, so that's a little interesting. But here's Dracula. We are entering phase 1, and the idea is that he basically, for both phases, cycles in this exact same pattern. So I have a general idea as to where he's going to teleport himself, and so I want to just keep wailing on him. I'm actually going to switch to the weapon that Alucard gave us, and I just used a projectile, but it did miss there, unfortunately.
You say gave, I say took from his cold dead hands.
I mean, he didn't die. We skipped the conversation, but he did say that he was going to sleep and that they may never see each other again. Also, it's kind of insinuated that they had a bit of a romantic connection. So there you go. Anyway,
But sure, Alucard isn't just Dracula, because Dracula backwards is Alucard.
Pretty sure this is not Helsing. Anyway, here's the final phase. Time is on the final hit, but we are at a bit of a danger point, so I'm going to be very careful because Burning Mode, I just used it right now, and oh, come on, So he's going to return there, and that's as expected. All right. No worries, I'm going to continue, but, yeah, we got to see what a game over does, so I hope you at least have been educated, because, as mentioned, yeah, it just puts me back to the last checkpoint, which was, again, quite a bit of a ways away from the Vampire Lord's Chamber, but hey, we'll get back up in no time. Still looking at some pretty good pace here and stuff, and, yeah. That's the reason why I like to be a bit cautious with Dracula, because despite the fact that it's just his head moving around, which also happens to be his weak point, yeah, the way he shoots those 8 projectiles in all directions, it makes it so hard to dodge. And not only that, but there's a couple of death pits there too. Those gaps actually can kill you. So, yeah, not the best crafted Dracula fight, and a very silly one, but hey, I would have loved to see Casey Nagoya come back with that maybe and, you know, come up with what would have happened if the entire body was moving. Can't get what you want every time, though, so, you know. We'll just proceed forward, and now's a good time for any more announcements, so go right ahead.
Yeah, no problem. So just a reminder for everybody out there, if you haven't been listening or if you've already turned up, we are the UKSG, normally a 2-day speedrunning marathon held 4 times a year in Glasgow. But due to the current situation with that bad COVID, we're bringing you 3 days of exciting speedruns like this one from the comfort of our own home to yours. And we are doing this to support Crisis, charity supporting people out of homelessness. And anything you can give, we will gladly receive, and it will go and help people who are at the very bottom of their lives. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Homelessness is something that I would dread to think of happening to me, and that's why I absolutely feel for anybody who has to deal with that themselves. And therefore, I would absolutely appreciate it if we give as much as we can. I know times have been a bit rough ourselves, but anything we have to give, as I always like to say and I always like to think, should and will make a difference. It shows that we care, and even then, I say we're still caring as we're watching and supporting each other going on and having good times. But, you know, I would very much like to encourage any pun-based donations if anybody has any, even if we're at the tail end of this run. So, you know, you have my permission to get any quick ones in if you so please. I know we supposedly had a bit of a Prometheus donation going on that did something like that, so you know. Alright, just gotta...
Are you saying where you need to have a wonderful time?
Exactly, especially since we're now back at Phase 2. Let's go, Trek, I'm not scared of you. Oh, alright, so... Okay, maybe I am a bit concerned at 1 HP, but... Alright, get ready on time, just in case. Ah, unfortunate. Alright. Let's try that again. So yeah, as you noticed, this can be a bit of a pain when, like, cause, again, the fireballs just go in all those directions. And it's just super hard to dodge. So honestly, I'm not really frustrated at myself. I'm just disappointed that the game isn't trying to be nice to me. I guess it wants to say, hey, Steve, you jinxed yourself again because you had a feeling you were going to go for a decent pace, but you know what? Let's make you work for it. As my good friend LOZ Cards fan 23 always likes to say, the game knows.
You're just giving people more time to get the puns in.
You know what? You're absolutely right. I couldn't agree more. And also, I'd like to ask chat to do me a favor. So I've been itching to pick up another Castlevania game because at the moment, Legends is the only one that I run so far. I would like your suggestions right away. I have been considering some of the ones that I do have because I do own the PC version of the Anniversary Collection. So if you are thinking any one of the titles from that could be fine, or I could maybe pick up something that isn't on the collection, some of the other stuff that do exist out there, like, say, Curse of Darkness, which is the game after Dracula's Curse with Hector. I could do Lament of Innocence, which, I mean, sure, some people might not consider the best of games, but, you know, I'm very much open to anybody's ideas. Give them to me right away.
The trilogy run.
The trilogy run? So you're talking about, like, the first 3 Castlevania games?
Yes.
Okay, I could consider that. I do see a, Kid Dracula suggestion. Luckily, that is one of the Anniversary Collection titles. But, you know, definitely an interesting suggestion, I would say. By the way, speaking of the Castlevania Anniversary Collection, if anybody wants a physical version of that, Limited Run Games is providing for PS4 and Nintendo Switch, and you do have until why did I say January? June 27th at 11:59 p.m. EST to consider ordering. Oh wow, that is not fun. Okay.
Dracula is being mean.
Oof! But luckily I was able to dodge him there quite easily, so... that was... wow. They really want me to work for this one. Alright. Oh boy, here we go. I had to use it there for sure.
He's definitely sucking all the blood out of this run.
Oh boy, you have no idea. By the way, that is that is the classic Castlevania theme in that is the classic Castlevania theme from the first game made into a final boss title. It's a pretty nice rendition, and you might have recognized Bloody Tears in Level 1, a very unique rendition of such. Alright. I'm gonna give this one more go, and if I do fail the next fight, then we are going to call it quits, because I do understand that we are a bit behind schedule, and I am now going a bit over the estimate, so no PB today, but I do want to try and see if I can't get one more go at this, so we shall be calling time soon enough anyway. I think what I'm gonna do, though, is I'm gonna try and aim for, as many hearts as I can. I don't think I'll get enough to get a full heal from my soul weapon, but hopefully it should be enough. I'd say this is a pretty good call for any last plugs or anything that you'd like to have to mention to our wonderful audience, though.
Yep. So, can't get enough of UKSG. We're hosting a ZX Spectrum themed mini event on the first week of August, which is the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th, featuring the likes of Tiny Tim, Ruffle Bricks, Digital Ducks, and potentially even you. More details will be announced after the marathon, and we'd also like to thank ESA for supporting us. Besides providing us with this beautiful channel for streaming on, they also share gear, technical assistance, and sponsors. And please be sure to check out their next event, ESA Summer 21, which is happening from the 24th to the 31st of July, and they always have some great runs. So,
absolutely, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the schedule is like this time around for sure.
I believe that comes out this weekend.
Oh heck. Unfortunately, I did not have enough time to submit myself. Ah, the bat got me this time. Alright. One more go? You know what? I'm gonna ask, do we have maybe time for maybe one more shot at that? Because we didn't quite get to Dracula there.
I'm afraid I'm being told that that's it. That was the last attempt.
No problem. Well, in any case...
So, check if you can stop the timer.
Let's stop it right there, yeah. Unfortunate, but hey, that's how the game goes sometimes. Honestly, I'm still glad that we had a pretty fast...
I'm being told... I'm being overruled. You can have one more go.
Oh. Well, perfectly fine then. All right.
Yeah.
That's,
Sorry, Tech, can you restart the timer?
Yeah. Unfortunately, I might have already... Well, I mean, okay, yeah. I thought you were referring to my timer there.
Alright, no.
Unfortunately, I might have hit no instead of cancel, and I forgot to update my splits with the best times, but... Oh, well, dems to breaks. I'll just look back at my feed soon. Alright.
Yeah, blame that on Panda for misunderstanding the boss.
You're all good, Panda. You're all good. And with that, let us see if we can try one last time. Oop, that was a bit of knockback there. Oop, and that's a no-go for that heart. Alright, let's see here. I'm gonna be playing it very carefully. Hey, what's good, Reek? Thank you, Paulister. Alright.
There's speedrun. Oh, that's harsh.
Hey, no problem. No problem.
Not every run is world record, not every run's PB.
Nah. Hey, I see Kumba in the chat. Hope your Super Metroid Impossible stream went well today. I know I caught some of it. The rest of it I hope went well, though. Chat, you're all wonderful. Don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. We are all imperfect in a perfect way.
Everybody's crazy in their own crazy, unique way.
Absolutely.
If everybody was sane, it would be boring.
Alright, let's see here. Alright. Let's just take care of these bats. And... Alright. A little bit more optimal health here. Optimal health. Of course, Sonia's whip can indeed destroy the, most enemy projectiles, but... Not all of them. Definitely not Dracula's, that's for sure. Alright. So... Alright, that's not going to be enough health, or hearts. It's not going to be enough hearts for a full heal, but I will use the Alucard Soul Weapon to the best of my ability. I'm just going to drink up so that I'm energized as best I can, but I'm going to let this conversation play out, so...
Look.
Correction, I let that conversation partially play out. Okay, that was a mistake. Oh.
You can do it. We believe in you.
Okay.
We're all behind you.
One more phase, but I might have to go into burning mode immediately. Come on. Alright, that's it. We are done. We tried, and you know what? We came so far, that's all that matters.
Dracula is Dracula, you know.
Dracula, you may have won this round, but next time I will not be so kind.
Yep. You'll get him next time.
With that said, thank you so much for watching Castlevania Legends. This is a fair but challenging game, and I hope you all got a good impression of it anyway. All things considered, I'm at least pleased with the first 4 levels having a very decent best time with, or best segments going for it. So I'll definitely take that with me, and of course it's always nice to be able to be supporting events like UKSG. Thanks for having me again. For those who don't know, I was here during UKSG Winter 2021 on Mega Man Extreme 2, and yeah.
Just before you go, this donation just came through from Eugene 83. Just do it. Nothing is impossible, Tempest.
Absolutely. Well,
and that's $42. So thank you very much.
whoa,
It's going to a worthy
nice.
cause.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, thank you for everybody who came out to see it through. Thank you to the UKSG staff for accepting the run. I'm very sorry that we couldn't get a proper defeat on Dracula, but hey, maybe next time. Until then, though, if you ever want to catch up with me, my name is TempestMask1000. I don't have a particular streaming schedule, but I usually try to make announcements on my Twitter at SteveVortexVA, for reasons, I guess. But, you know, thank you for...
Thank you very much for
absolutely.
the valiant attempt.
And thank you for having me.
We've got I'm trying to remember how to pronounce his name. Jehorse. We saw the game coming up next. So we're going to go into a very quick intermission, and we'll be back with you very soon.
Let's go, Jew!